What's the Car Talk podcast?
Hello and welcome back to the Car Talk podcast, a show where we talk about the latest car news and transportation opinion. How are we, Matty, this month? You well?
I'm very good, thanks. How are you?
I'm good, yes. We've got a bit of interesting car news this month. Well, I say that every month, but we do. And then we got this sort of, I suppose it's a reoccurring theme, because we've kind of talked about it before, about speed cameras and stuff, but we're going to be talking about more of that later. Yeah. Would you like to start with the car news, Matty? Let's get straight into it.
I would actually, and in the whole history of the Car Talk podcast, I've never actually started the month of the podcast off with so much news of change in the automotive industry this month. There is actually quite a few bulletins to mention. Have you heard about Fisker, Bailey, this week?
No, not this week. I've heard of the brand, but not none of the news.
Right, okay. We were only talking about this the other month, actually, and Bailey got the name quite confused. But Fisker, not to be confused with anything else, if you take letters and rearrange the name Fiesta and it spells something else. No, it's Fisker, family-friendly podcast. Fisker, not Fisker. They're in trouble, basically. They've had a failed rescue plan because they're basically going to the wall. A large automaker, which was rumoured to be Nissan, was going to put £150 million into rescuing Fisker, and it looks as though they've pulled out. So they're now seeking more investments or a buyer or whatever to continue making the 3/4 of a car that they currently make.
Which is the Fisker Ocean, isn't it?
It's the Fisker Ocean, and it's fair to say that the Fisker Ocean is drowning as we speak.
That's a good pun there, Matty.
Thank
Very
you.
Funny.
Just before we move on, in case you're about to move on there, this all comes in a bit of a package, really, because there's this year so far, I think I'm right in saying that Tesla shares have dropped by 30%. Doesn't sound like a lot, but it probably is. Well, it definitely is. 30% of shares have dropped in Tesla, and also Volvo is reducing the amount of shares that they have in Polestar as well, which was not exactly their electric division, just something that they invested in and sold alongside their range. They didn't actually own Polestar, which I didn't know.
No, I didn't know.
Yeah,
either.
Volvo are reducing their investment in that. So there is a lot of sort of decline, really, isn't there, in electric cars at the minute, it seems.
That's definitely what I've noticed as well. Like, a lot of the main brands are sort of cutting down on their, electric sort of cars. And it's just because I think, there's a couple of reasons which we've obviously done a whole podcast on. But, I mean, the main one is nobody wants one. And the second-hand market value is, completely crashed.
It's there's real big question marks at the moment. Obviously, there is a general election later this year, which could introduce a completely new government, I hope anyway.
I hope so, yeah.
And the current government that we've got now is saying that they are moving the goalposts as such with the targets for ending petrol and diesel vehicle production. Obviously, sales in electric cars are dwindling slightly. And also, I read this week that 1 in 10 supermarkets don't have charging facilities. And there's a big problem if we're going to sell more electric cars, then we need to increase charging capability. And unfortunately, the two just aren't going hand in hand at the moment.
Yeah, there's definitely not enough charging points, is there? Especially if someone owns, like, for example, my road, there's not really a driveway. It just sort of like people kind of have like a front garden which they've converted into a drive to fit their electric cars on. So there'd have to be a lot of that as well if people want to charge at home. But Matty, speaking of electric cars, the new electric cars, in fact, you know Rivian, the company who do cars. Rivian.
Oh,
have you heard of them?
No.
You haven't heard of Rivian? Okay. Well, they've made 2 new cars. Well, technically 3 new cars. They've already got, I believe, like a big 7-seater SUV, of course. I can't remember the name of it. I think it's like RT1 or something or other. And then they've also got a pickup truck. But the new cars are the Rivian R2, the Rivian R3, and the Rivian R3X. Basically, to sum it up, the Rivian R2 is an electric SUV to rival the Tesla Model Y. The R2 is a crossover kind of thing. Kind of hatchback. It doesn't look like a crossover. It looks quite small, actually. And the R2X is basically like a more performance-y version of it with like wider arches and stuff. But I don't know if you've had a look at the pictures, Matty. They look... There's going for like a very similar design on all their cars. They're kind of like variants of the same thing. It's got very similar lights at the front. And it's a very sort of simplest design sort of, thing that they go for. What do you think?
I'm wondering why on earth you're telling me this and why you saw this fit to be in the podcast.
Well, I actually kind of like the R3, to be fair. I think it looks cool. The performance version. It's almost like a sort of buggy kind of looking. But yeah. I don't know, I just thought I haven't really got enough news, so I kind of had to put some extra bits in there that I didn't like necessarily.
You've just sent me a message on Snapchat telling me that this is a good month for car news, and you once again have presented me with an anonymous SUV, which is neither really newsworthy, nor is it a Car Talk podcast car of tomorrow today, so...
Yeah. I don't know what to say. If
you'd like to be a presenter on the Car Talk podcast and replace Bailey, then please email us. I'd like to be a presenter on the Car Talk podcast, and just the rest of it, because this seems to be happening an awful lot recently, Bailey, that you are coming out with some shit.
But that's not my fault, because I think the manufacturers are coming out with a lot of shit, aren't they? So I can't
Just because you drive a rubbish car, it doesn't mean you have to talk about new rubbish cars on the podcast.
Yes, I do. Anyway, have you got anything to spice up the mood, Matty?
Yes, let's spice up the mood with news from Nissan. And it's bad news, actually. This actually rivals Bailey's story, but the only reason I'm mentioning this is because this is a real threat. This is different if there was, say, one housefly flying around your room. But imagine if there was 30 of them. Imagine if there was an invasion of 30 houseflies, 30 rats, 30 zombies. It wouldn't be very good, would it?
No.
No. And if you don't live to see 2026, then count yourself lucky, because unfortunately Nissan have revised their business plan and they are going to bring 30 new Nissans by the year 2026.
30 new Nissans?
In
what are they going to be?
In 2 years, there are going to be 30 new Nissans. It says here that they are going to launch 16 electrified models and 14 ICE vehicles. What are ICE vehicles? Are they hybrids?
No, they're internal combustions. They're just normal cars.
Oh, right, okay. So there's
just
going to be...
abbreviation of it.
Right, okay. I'm just not on with the lingo this month at all. Yeah, so there's going to be 14 internal combustion engine Nissans. Okay, if we have to. But on top of that, you've got 16 electrified models coming within the next 2 years. Now, this is one of them is going to be a replacement for the Leaf. Another one's going to be a new Micra. And it's not that I am intrigued or about this at all, or that I'm trying to bore you, but I just think this is a real threat.
Why? I mean, is it going to be like?
Well, it's not exactly
going to be different cars, or they're like just doing variants of the same car.
Well, it's
sort of thing.
Look, my whole point is it's not 30 new Ferraris or Porsches, is it? It's 30 new Nissans that people are going to buy on mobility, and they're going to exist.
Well, I mean, it's okay if one of the new Nissans is my next piece of news.
Good.
Which is the new Nissan GTR.
Ooh.
Yes, I know. Except it looks exactly the same as the 2008 version because they can't be bothered to update it. And there's nothing new about it at all apart from some, a blue interior, pretty much. The only thing is it's going to be exclusive to the Japanese market. So if you do want one, then you have to import it, Matty, which is a bit of a shame. So it kind of makes it a bit pointless because then why would you buy the new one when you can get a second-hand one for like 30 grand?
I was going to say that. I mean, I don't really know who is buying the Nissan GTR, who was buying it. I don't know who is buying the 350 or 370Z. It's just a bit of... It's one of them cars where it's like very good in its own right in some respects, but it's a Nissan. I must say though, the only silver lining in the fact that Nissan are bringing 30 new cars within the next 2 years is that it's good news for the north, specifically the northeast, if all of these cars are going to be manufactured at Nissan's Sunderland factory. So, one thing to take from this is up the north.
Yes. Matty, do you like the Porsche Taycan?
I actually quite do like the Porsche Taycan.
So do I.
Why?
Well, there's a new version.
Oh.
I know. And it's the Porsche Taycan Turbo GT, even though it's not a turbo. The new, Taycan GT. And basically it's going to be the most powerful road-going Porsche ever made. It's going to have 1,100 horsepower. It's 75 kilograms lighter than before, but it's just like kind of taking off a chair off your house, for example. There's not really any difference because it does weigh a house. And this is pretty impressive as well. It did the Nürburgring in 7 minutes and 7 seconds, which is a...
Are you sure that you're not looking at the Hyundai Ioniq 6 there?
I know what you mean. It does look similar, doesn't it?
Yeah. What is this thing about cars are now designed just to get round the Nürburgring?
I don't know, but I kind of like it because I like the Nürburgring.
But does that mean it's a good car?
No, but I mean the Taycan is already a good car, so surely they haven't really ruined it. They can't have ruined it.
Mm.
I mean, it looks a bit more sort of mean. It's got a rear wing at the back. It's got more sort of sticky outy bits on the side, like diffusers and things. So I think it looks better than it does. It's a bit too smooth at the moment, but this I think like kind of finalises the look quite nicely. That's just my opinion on it, but
same engine.
Yeah, it's going to have the same 0.000 displacement as in electric. Yeah, it's a shame they haven't put like a V8 in it or something, but then I just suppose it would just become the Panamera, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I suppose so.
Matty, I've got another new car. It's actually my final piece of news, if you wouldn't mind me doing that quickly. It's the new BMW Vision Neue Class X thingy.
Not interested.
You're not interested. Right, anyway, moving on.
Continuing with my theme with the news this week about all change in the automotive industry, have you heard that Kazoo are kaput this month? Did you know about that?
No.
Kazoo, meant to be some sort of powerhouse and pioneer in online used car buying, have said that they are going to become an online marketplace So basically, they're going to go up against Auto Trader, which I predict is going to fail also. So as a result, they are selling off all of their stock. At their peak, they had about 4,000, 5,000 cars on their website. I've done a quick check before. They're now down to their last 450. It's resulted in job losses and things like that. But the whole business has just collapsed, a little bit like Fisker. And they are now stopping selling cars, and they're just becoming an online marketplace. Not the most interesting of news, but it's
sort of important, isn't it, really?
It's important, yeah. And as Car Talk Podcast's head of consumerism, I thought that it's best that I mention that.
So where have all the cars gone?
Have they
sold? Okay, right. So how many? so they sell them all at once? Because that's a lot of cars to sell at once, isn't it?
No. So like they were always selling cars, but the problem was they were basically making a loss on all of the cars because, someone could buy a car and they could return it within 30 days or 7 days or whatever it was. But then when they go to sell the car again, the car will have lost value because the car would have had one extra owner and just stuff like that. So they made a big loss. Just sent you the link there, Bailey. What do you think of this? This is the new Audi A3.
I think it's hideous.
Yeah, so do I, and I don't really know what's going on.
No.
I'm pretty sure that I'm reading this right, but this basically, if you're just listening and not watching, is a rebadged Volkswagen ID3, but it's going to be called the Audi A3. It's the new Audi A3, and it says here Audi A3 is still planned. It's the entry-level EV to give affordability edge over BMW and Mercedes. So it's a rebadged Volkswagen ID3, but it looks a lot less attractive than the outgoing A3.
If you look at do you know what this reminds me of? Actually, it kind of reminds me of the opposite version of the old Audi A1 to the new Audi A1. It's kind of the opposite effect, isn't it? Because they've gone for that sort of really ugly, boxy shape on the new one, and obviously before the Audi A1 was very boxy, and they changed it to the more sort of smoothened out version that it is now. So that's kind of disappointing that they've done that. And I wonder what the new S3 will look like if it looks like that, the new one.
It's just probably going to have black wheels, isn't it? And
black wheels, some more plastic on it, and they'll probably uprate the electric engine in it, which isn't very much to say, is it? It's a bit boring.
Bit of a controversial opinion, probably. Don't get me wrong. I love the old Mark 1 Audi A2. And in my opinion, this is what a modern day Audi A2 would look like. But
sorry, that's what I meant, not Audi A1.
Yeah. So
earlier.
So that's fine if it's an A2, but an A3 is a completely different kettle of fish. It's supposed to be a classy looking sort of, hatchback, and obviously with the S3 option as well. And number one, it's going to be electric, and number two, it's literally a rebadged Volkswagen ID3. I don't know how many more times I need to say it. You know what I mean? It's insignificant for me. This
it's such a shame, though. It's like I feel like everything these days is just sort of a rehashed version of something that was already original, and it's made to be worse. It's same with like games. I know it's a bit off topic, but a lot of games are basically just reusing and just sort of like recycling sort of the same thing over and over, but they make it worse every time. It's kind of like the same with the car industry at the moment. It's just sort of going backwards. But that is a shame.
Yeah, speaking of rehashing things, a strange offer this week from Stellantis. We know who Stellantis is, obviously, but I'll just explain that the Stellantis Group own Peugeot, Citroën, Vauxhall, Alfa Romeo and Fiat. They're making us a strange offer. They're saying that they will turn your diesel van into an EV for £17,000. Good idea?
Well, it depends how much the new EV vans are.
Well, they're going to be more than £17,000.
I was going to say, because that would be stupid. I suppose it's sort of a good idea. I mean, but how would that work though? It's a lot of like changing around. If you've got like a 1998 Renault van, for example, how's that going to work?
I don't know.
Doplo.
What Stellantis are saying is that they wouldn't offer a warranty on the van, even if they've sold it to you previously and you've got it reconverted by them into
ironic.
an EV. I think that's just like Citroën trying to get less and less people returning with faults on their cars. We have found a way to reduce the people coming into the after-sales department. We will simply say, no warranty, but charge them £17,000.
Yeah,
do you think that's what it is?
That's probably it.
Let me tell you why this is a bad idea. Who buys vans, right?
Big John and Dave.
Big John and Dave, who are typically doing like plumbing and, you know, they're using it as a bit of a workhorse sort of thing. Vans get damaged quicker than cars with just, you know, dents and scrapes and things getting loaded in and out. I don't know if vans still rust, but they always rusted when I was a kid. And vans are basically very knocked about. So if you've got even a 6 or 7 year old van that you bought brand new and it's already seen better days, and then you've already bought it, but then you pay a further 17 grand to get your battered van turned into an EV, and if it goes wrong you haven't got a warranty. I just don't think that idea is going to fly, do you?
No, and also, why would you spend that much money when you could just get a new-ish van? You know, you could get like a normal Transit, which is still the best-selling van, for like about that money.
Yeah,
if not less.
You would just lease another van, wouldn't you?
Yeah. And what would just be better? I think the overall best option in this situation is you should buy the Nissan Townstar. That's probably just the end of the conversation.
Or what was the other one that we discussed last month?
The Interstar.
The which?
The Interstar.
The Interstar.
I can't believe you've forgotten that. For God's sake.
I was getting confused because there's the Prima Star as well, isn't there?
Yeah.
So, one more from me. But do you have a car of tomorrow today, Bailey? Do you want to do mine first, or do you want to do your?
We'll do yours first, and then we'll go into the concept thing.
Okay, probably the most interesting car we're going to mention on the podcast this week. Volkswagen's new ID7 GTX Tourer. Yes, it's electric, but it's an estate. Looks fantastic, and it's going to be the most powerful estate car. Or Volkswagen's most powerful estate car anyway.
Yes, I've seen this on Carmel's page. And it does look quite good, actually. It's basically the replacement of the Passat kind of thing, isn't it? In the electric equivalent form.
335 brake horsepower.
Wow. I mean, is that enough though, considering how much it's going to weigh from all the electric batteries and things?
I don't know. Time will tell.
We'll see. I think it's a good-looking car, Matty. Didn't they do another announcement on the same day for the what's the other one? Is it the new ID3 GTX? Yeah, the Audi A3 ID3 GTX thing, which isn't so interesting, but yeah. I like that, Matty. I suppose we'll move on to our new section that we've created, which is called Car Talks, Cars of Tomorrow Today. This month it's my turn to talk about a concept car that's, well, never been actually made. That's the whole point of it. And Matty...
Don't sound too enthusiastic.
Why not?
No, I just thought you meant to say Car Talks, Cars of Tomorrow Today on, you know...
Okay, I'll do that again then. On Car Talks, Cars of Tomorrow Today.
Yes, there you
Is
go.
that better?
Maybe we should get a jingle.
Yeah, I'm going to get Harry to make another jingle. We'll be like, oh, for God's sake. We'll probably use your brother in it, if that's all right. Going, car talk today, tomorrow. Can't even do it.
His voice has broken since then. Did you know that?
Is it?
Yeah. He's 18 now.
Well, I'd hope it's broken. So yeah, the car we're going to talk about, Matty, is the Lamborghini Egoista concept car. Have a look at this. You might have seen it before. I just thought I'd, bring in a supercar because, it's not very supercar-y this month in terms of the car news. So I was like, why not put one in the Car Talks Cars of Tomorrow today?
Give me that name again, please.
Lamborghini Egoista. So it's Egoista. And basically what it is a Lamborghini Gallardo underneath, and then someone's put a Hot Wheels car in real life on top of the engine. That's kind of what they've done. It's a very funky car. It's very cool in its own right. And this was unveiled I think it was to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the company, which is pretty cool. But obviously, yeah, it's kind of styled to look like a modern fighter jet as well.
I was going to say that it's not a pretty car, is it? But it doesn't have to be because they're aiming for something completely different with this. Have they made any? They will make one, won't they? If it's for the 50th anniversary.
Yeah, that's the whole point. So it's only one of them's being made, and I think it's somewhere in. I can't remember. It's in a museum somewhere. I can't remember where it was, but it's just sat in the museum, and they basically made it. It drives and everything.
I was going to say.
Yeah, they haven't made it in production.
So
but what's cool
who's
about
driven
Matty,
it? How fast does it go? What was its time round the Nürburgring?
I don't know. I don't think it's ever gone round the Nürburgring. But it does have, as I said, Matty, the same engine from the Gallardo, so it's basically just a V10. It's a Gallardo reskin, is what it is. It's like the GTA's version of a Gallardo.
Can I just say we've completely missed the points here because this is not a car of tomorrow at all.
Isn't it?
This will never exist.
I know it does exist. That's the point. That's the whole.
I know, but it's not a car of tomorrow. It's not something that we're going to see in the future, is it?
Well, maybe if you look at the
how Hyundai last month was.
Yeah, but I know. Yeah, that's fair enough. But I'm saying a supercar in the future could look like this. Right, using this sort of styling, and if you look at the interior, it's got like a heads-up display. Sort of, it's actually got an aiming like sight reticle thing in the dash, so you can actually shoot people. Say again?
Does it have brakes in that?
Yeah, it does have brakes in that.
Because I would hate to be run over by that front end. Would you?
Yeah, it would probably go into your car like a jet. But that is. The Car Talks Cars of Tomorrow, never.
Yes.
And we'll move on to our theme. It's been quite a lengthy car news section, actually, isn't it? And as I said at the start, it's sort of retouching on something that we talked about in the past on various other podcasts. And it is just to do with speed cameras and speed limits and all the rest of it. And the reason I thought of this theme, Matty, is because recently I've been seeing a lot of Facebook posts. You know, those like community police Facebook group things. I don't know if you've ever seen those. There's a lot of those posts going on at the moment. I seem to be getting them on my Facebook for some reason. And it's these like voluntary sort of pensioners that go out into a street in the middle of nowhere and basically take, a speed gun and, record speed limits, and they catch various people doing things. And what makes me laugh the most is the comments, because everyone's like, oh, get a life, that sort of thing. But Matty, I don't know what your thoughts are on this. I've got my thoughts, but I'd like to hear what you would like to say about that.
I haven't heard of pensioners with actual speed guns. I remember the lady a good few years ago now, must have been 10 years ago, something like that, where she actually took her hairdryer out onto the street and people thought it was a speed gun because she'd hold it up and people would slow down. Brilliant. That to me screams pensioner who hasn't got a life
Well, I mean, I say pensioner, they're not actually, but some of them are like sort of, in the elderly stage of their life. And there's also the opposite of that. There's another post that I saw that was, they were like encouraging like school children to go out and like be taught about speed limits and stuff, and they got to use like a speed gun and stuff. And I don't know how I feel about it. It's just sort of like, I get it in like a built up, urban school environment, but on like an open road in the middle of nowhere, it just seems a bit silly and a bit sort of revenue collecting.
Well, why would you teach children about speed limits if they can't drive?
Well, yeah, I suppose that's a good point as well. They should actually be learning how to, fix the economy that we're currently in. But anyway, they're instead talking about speed cameras.
Don't get too disheartened about that, because there is the other side of it as well, especially in Liverpool, where people are up to all sorts of things to combat those speed camera vans. Have you got them that just will set up on the side of the road and,
Yeah, I mean, there's not many down south, to be honest. There's more sort of up north, because I suppose there's nothing up there, so they need more of them. But yeah,
right, yeah,
I've seen.
No, I think what they do is all the money they make from the speed and drivers, they just give it straight to the south.
Is that? Yeah, it probably is actually.
That is probably what happens there.
It probably goes into the ULEZ.
I don't think the ULEZ money comes up north. Yeah, there's all sorts of things going on with that. So basically, I've seen tons of these videos on Facebook, and a lot of them look like they're in Liverpool. A few of them are. The speed van will set up, and you'll have some geezer parking his tall van in front of it, so the camera can't pick up anyone. There was a guy who opened an umbrella in front of the camera and just stood holding this umbrella so the camera couldn't catch anyone. There's people who stand half a mile further on from the speed van warning people that there's a speed van coming up. So that in itself is a real community spirit to go against the likes of these old people who should be at the pottery class, but they've decided to become a policeman or whatever. You know what I mean?
But technically, as this is my problem with it, if they're doing that, isn't that just impersonating a police officer? I know they get given it by the police, but I don't know how it works. Like, what's the point in it? It's just annoying people.
They can't actually enforce anything, can they?
Well, that's what I mean. But they on the post they often say, "Oh, we've caught 30 out of 100 cars speeding this morning and on a Tuesday morning," for example, and then the fines and stuff will come on later. It's like, have you though? It's like, good old Doris going to work. I don't know if it would be called Doris, whatever. Claire going to work in a Renault Megane, doing 34 in a 30. It's not really going to make a difference, is it?
No. Well, it does, because I have done a speed awareness course, but it's very, very unlikely that.
Well, actually, I say 30 miles an hour. Most of these community things are on 40 to 50 mile an hour roads.
Well, yeah, the whole world is going down to 20 miles an hour anyway. London, the whole of central London, is now a blanket 20 miles an hour. Wales, 20 miles an hour. Very bad for the environment, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah, and that does actually bring me to a good point, because I was driving through London the other week for work, and just getting through London is just it makes you really impatient, because I'm going the same sort of speed as a cyclist, and then I remember driving, and it was a big row of cyclists down right near Hammersmith, and I was literally going the same speed as them, and I couldn't overtake, because obviously then I'd break the speed limit, and then every camera every 400 feet.
There is, isn't there? Yeah.
And then it makes me really annoyed, because you're just there, and it's like the road is huge, and there's nothing on it, but you have to do 20. It just does my head in. But thankfully, all these kind of similar to the Liverpool situation, Matty, that you've mentioned. These, I think they're called, is it Blade Runners? I can't remember the names. They're called Blade Runners or something, and they take down all these cameras that they put up in London.
Oh,
so
yeah.
these like anonymous people. I can't remember if that's actually their name.
We did mention that on the podcast.
I believe we did, yeah.
Yeah, and I said that he should be up for like a knighthood or something. The guy who got arrested for vandalising the ULEZ cameras.
Yeah. It's just fun, isn't it? They do everything in their power to stop people from speeding and, protesting about it, but they won't go and sort out a robbery or a rape.
Yeah, two different words beginning with R there, but yeah, I'm completely with you. Another thing I read online is that people are gluing leaves that fell off trees onto their registration plates to avoid the ULEZ and stuff like that. Oh. I did ponder whether I should do this when I went to London. I've just come back from London, actually, viewers. No one knew that apart from Bailey. But I've just come back from London, and I'll tell Bailey off camera what I did to avoid some of the charges that comes with driving and parking in London. But one thing I didn't do, but I pondered, was putting a leaf over the first letter or first two letters of my registration so the camera wouldn't pick up. Do you think... And you don't have to have anything to back this up, but just like instinctively, do you think I will get away with doing that next time I go to London or not?
It's really hard to say, isn't it? Because they obviously like log everything, and surely they'll be able to find your car if you just cover one of it. They'll be like, okay, it's a Lexus in silver on this sort of reg, and then they'll just find the first letter, won't they? So that unless you cover it all up, it's so difficult to get away with it, I think.
Well,
but it's quite a funny idea, though. I would like to try it out.
It is a funny idea, and I was thinking, I did think about this, so I didn't do it in the end. I chickened out in the end. But I was thinking, okay, if I find a big enough leaf so it covers the first two letters, then obviously the first letter of every registration is a letter. It's not a number. So they'd know that it was from A to Z, but the second letter can be either another letter or it can be a number, depending on how old the car is.
Yeah.
So what they would then have to do is do the whole of the alphabet again and the whole of all the numbers. So would it actually get to that stage where someone's trying to do that, or would the camera just simply say, oh, we're ruling this one out, I haven't picked anything up, and no one would know about it?
Yeah, it's funny though, because I had sort of a weird situation when I had my Mazda, which isn't ULEZ exempt somehow. When I changed the plate on that, so I obviously had my original plate and I changed it to my new sort of personalised one. When I was in the process of changing it, and in fact I actually already changed it, I went into London and I tried to pay for the ULEZ and it wouldn't recognise the plate on a car, and I had it on my car, it was all registered or anything, so it took a while to like realise that it was new, and
it
basically said to me
going through on the plate transfer.
Yeah, so I got away with it for like a month just from a new transfer. So there's a car culture top tip. If you want to get rid of the ULEZ, just change your plate every like month.
How much does that cost?
£80. It's probably cheaper than doing the ULEZ every day.
How much is it?
It's £12.50 a day.
No,
so what's that?
How much is the plate transfer?
£80. So if you're doing it once a month, I don't know if it is actually once a month. Let's just say it's once a month. £80 to transfer. And then if you're paying ULEZ every day,
you've made your money back in about a week and a half, haven't you?
You have, yeah. So it's £12.50 a day. So what would that be? Like £80, sort of £60 to £80 a week. So that's a good idea. But also, Matty, with the M25, they've also got that controlled speed limit around the whole thing.
Yeah,
and if you've been on the M25, yeah, the ring of shit. Yeah, it is at the moment because it's backed up to hell on the A3 exit because they're doing like loads of roadworks on there. Obviously, I was on the way back from London the other week. I was driving down. Actually, it wasn't the M25, it was the M4, that new bit on the M4, which they've obviously done the similar thing with the M25 as well, with the cameras and stuff. It was for some reason a 50 at like 10, 11 p.m. And I was like, what could possibly be slowing down? You know, what could possibly be the reason for it to be a 50? And there wasn't any reason, of course. It was apart from they wanted to make some money. And I remember I was driving down down obviously an empty motorway, because it is at that time of the evening. And there was a couple of cars near me. And there was one car that sort of overtook me. I was doing 53, I think, past the camera. So that's obviously in the limit. And this guy was going a bit quicker than me, but he got flashed as I was literally next to him. So I obviously intentively was like, shit, did I go over the speed limit? Have I got caught, sort of thing. And you just, that's another thing that annoys me about it, is it takes so long that even if you don't actually know if you got, flashed or not, it takes like a month to come through. Even if you did actually get flashed. So it's just the whole process of it is just so like long as well. And then again, I saw
you're not sleeping for a month, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. That's kind of the thing. I definitely wasn't caught, but I don't know if it counts that if it's got us both in the shot, or is it? I think it's per lane though, isn't it? I think, I'm not sure. But I don't think I was going over the limit, to be honest. But go on, Matty.
Yeah, I do not understand, because I went on a speed awareness course quite a while ago, or last year or whatever, and he said by the time you reach a sign sometimes that says we've reduced the speed limit to 50, the damage or whatever, the crash, the breakdown, could have already cleared by the time you get there, and it's all about traffic flow. So obviously the guy on the course has told me that, so I have no reason not to believe that. But then I was driving back from London only last night at, let's say, about 10 o'clock at night. I was somewhere along either the M1 or the M6, whatever. And we were 70 miles an hour all the way. The road was fairly empty. And then all of a sudden, one of them overhead signs, 60 miles an hour, debris on the road. Okay, so down to 60 miles an hour, and then we get to the next overhead sign, which is, they're never far away from each other, are they? How far would you say they are? Like about half a mile away from each other?
Yeah, max a mile, I think. But yeah,
a mile,
half a mile.
And yeah, got to the next one, and it put it back to national speed limit, and I thought, there's absolutely no way at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night there was debris on the road in the first place, and someone's cleaned it up just then, and the sign's been on all this time. Like, it's just, I couldn't believe it. Like, I was saying to my brother, where's the debris? And even if there was debris, how does going 10 miles an hour or 20 miles an hour slower help anyone?
No, it's complete bollocks though. There's no debris on there. There's nothing to do with the debris on the road. It's to do with they want to make some money, and that's the same with the M25. Because in the morning at like rush hour, there's always a queue. It's not because it's busy. Because if it was busy, everyone would just carry on driving, wouldn't they? The thing is that there's enough cars to fit on the motorway because of how many bloody lanes there are. But it's because what they do is they change the camera from the normal speed to 60, and everyone panics and goes, oh, I can't get caught, and they slow down even more than 60, and then it causes a queue. So actually it's the people that control the cameras' fault for the actual like congestion, and then they put on the sign saying warning, congestion ahead, which you've caused.
One thing that people really need to learn as well is that if the sign goes to 50, that doesn't mean 40 or 45, that means 50. Yeah. Because even if your speedo is saying that you're doing just over 50 miles an hour, you're doing 50 still. Did you know that? That your speedo underreads the speed that you're doing. Did you know that?
Yeah, I did. And I think, isn't the police cars have like dead accurate speed limits or something on their cars? Makes you think, why don't they just do that on our cars?
Yeah, so because like if you're doing like dead on 50 miles an hour according to your dial, your Google Maps or whatever will say that you're only doing 47. So if you think about it, if you're only doing 47 when your car says you're doing 50, imagine the speed that all the people that go down to 45 or 40 are doing because they're scared of getting caught. It's just...
Yeah. Well, yeah, now you know how I feel when I'm in it. It's just awful. I think I actually did watch this video, Matty, on Instagram. It was like a real thing. And it actually showed it from like a faraway perspective. It showed how a traffic jam is caused. And the main cause of a traffic jam is because one car slows down a bit too much.
Phantom traffic jams, they're called, aren't they?
Yeah. That's basically what it is. So someone mainly in the fast lane slows down a bit too much, and then everyone, it basically is just like a chain reaction behind it. And that's the whole reason why there's a traffic jam on that motorway, because the speed limits go down. They panic because they don't want to get £400 million fine and 3 years of jail, and then they go, oh, okay, we need to go down to 40 instead of the actual limit. Again, just make it 70, because then there won't be a traffic jam, and everyone could just get on their day. Unless there's an actual crash, it makes sense. But yeah,
we are quite possibly the most knowledgeable drivers on British roads, aren't we?
What, me and you?
Me and you.
I agree. We are. I just don't like how they lie to us. Like, again, it comes down to the Facebook post thing where they're just saying like, and even the ones without those community like speed watch things, it's just like they reiterate the speed limits, and everyone in the comments are like, we know you're lying. It's just about revenue. Everyone knows that. It's just common knowledge at this point. It's not about the speed, it's about how much money they can make from it. But I think that's probably enough ranting, isn't it, Matty? Unless you've got anything else to say about it.
No, I think I'm good.
Yeah, just needed to get that off my chest. I suppose we'll better wrap up then for this month. Would you like to plug your socials, Matty?
I've just sat up there. Plug my socials. Certainly would. Yep. Obviously, I don't work on this channel. I have my own YouTube channel. And if you would like to see that, it's Matty's Cars on YouTube. If you'd like to follow me on social media, you can also do that as well. Promotions for my videos, car spotting, the lot, basically. Matty's Cars YT. And if you are liking the vintage sweatshirt that I have bought from Camden Market in London this weekend, and you'd like to see more of that, then you can follow my personal Instagram, matsgram99.
Nice one.
Now here's Bailey to get his branding all mixed up.
No, I'm not going to do it this time.
You are. You are.
Before that, though, Matty, I've got a question for you. When is the review of my car coming out on your channel?
It's either going to be before or after the 30 new Nissans come out.
Okay, good to know. Yes, so you can subscribe to us on here on the channel, Car Culture, and obviously this podcast will be out on other platforms like Spotify and Apple Music, which I'm sure you're aware of if you're listening on one of those. And if you want to follow us, like our social medias for the channel, it's
Go on.
Car Culture _YT for Instagram, and TikTok is Car Culture YT. And if you want to follow my personal Instagram, it's Bailey Prickett 27. There we go. That's
referred into the script there. Well done.
Yeah, I was looking down at my phone because that's what I written. No, I didn't actually. But yeah, we'll hopefully. I know we say this every month, Matty. We'll get a guest on next month, but we just for some reason
need to be more organised.
We just need to be more organised. Yeah, we do. There's a lot going on. It's a lot of speed cameras in our way. That's what's going on. I'm just saying who we can get on that we haven't had already. And woman would be good.
There isn't a lot of them out there, is there?
No. Anyway, we'll see you next month.